Mama Africa, your children are home!
Hello everybody.
Hey.
Welcome back to Familia Pablanu. I'm the one and only Anu.
And I'm Pablo, just Pablo.
And today we'll be talking about
the main reasons that we relocated to Uganda, to East Africa, the Pearl of Africa.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different reasons that we decided on coming here.
Yeah, and most of them are very interconnected.
Yes.
The reasons, yeah.
We could go on for days talking about all the various reasons, the ins and outs, everything.
So the first reason is community.
So for our children, for example, where they were growing up,
yeah,
was a lovely little town, southern Indiana, roughly, and it was a beautiful community, right? I mean, the people were great to us.
Yeah.
It was nice, at least during the summer. It was beautiful,
yeah.
Unless you like winter, in which case it could also be beautiful. But yeah, it was a very nice community. But
they are the community. They are of an elderly community, and there are not many children for kids to play with, and
which is common all across the United States. I mean, not just the United States, all the Western world is like that. You go to any sort of village, and every single one is going to be more elderly, and the children don't have opportunities because there's not that, base of young people who are, building and creating and whatnot. So young people, even if there are children that are born there, like ours would have been, or ours were, they have to leave, right? If they want better opportunities, better education, better anything, right? They have to leave those.
There were a few kids here and there, but they usually keep to themselves. So
yeah, I mean, it wasn't that they were intentionally doing it,
right?
But it's just the culture, Community is not the same as it used to be in the U.S. maybe 100 years ago, right? Where kids could play out in the streets with other kids, and it was fine. Nowadays, kids tend to be in their own homes. Even if they don't have walls and gates and perimeters, they still stay in their homes for the most part, and you have to schedule times for them to meet and to play together, and it's just not the same. There's not much community, in that case, for our children at least. And then also, for us even, having friends and having people we could talk to, there's just not that sort of community. It's difficult, to find people, to befriend, to talk to. I mean, and it's just the culture nowadays in the U.S. And so it's just, we just felt like we were lacking a lot, and the kids too. It just felt like they weren't. I mean, they had each other, which is great, but we wanted them to get more.
Yeah, and then of course, since the COVID, everything has become worse when it came to the community part, because everyone's trying to recover from being on lockdown. So it's slowly coming back alive, but it still has a long way to go when it comes to people getting together and stuff. Yeah.
Well, that was an eye-opening moment for I think a lot of people in the world.
Yeah.
But when we came to Uganda, it was immediate. People were right there, wanting to be friends, wanting to talk, wanting to help.
Kids, and the kids have a lot of group of friends. They go to the play area. You see all these kids; they're all jumping, all having fun. They're all teaching each other all these languages. It's awesome.
Great to see. It's great to see. They're really flourishing in a lot of ways. And they're coming back saying, "Oh, I made a friend today," and that was like it never happened, where we were.
Yeah.
So I mean that was wonderful, and then for us too. And I know people will say, "Oh, it's because you're a Muzungu," all these sort of things. People are gonna pretend to be. No, we have actual friends, actual people who are genuine.
Right. Yeah.
And that's one thing, that kind of I had sort of prepared for is thinking of like other parts of Africa that I had heard of. Going there that there will be people who are more interested in money or just see you as a bag of money and that sort of a thing. But here I found that for the most part it's the opposite. People would actually say, listen, even if I offered money for something, they would say like, what?
Not everything is about money. What did Brother Daniel said?
Well, no, it was someone else even.
Oh,
but
Brother Daniel said that too. Yeah,
he said that. But our first driver, I mean, everyone, like, I came out of the airport even, and I was carrying a lot of bags and stuff. And I was trying to help bring everything to the vehicle, and yeah, these people who were they were taxi drivers, waiting for potential clients, and they actually stopped, came out, helped me, and here I'm thinking, oh yeah, they're gonna stick around for payment, right? And I thought, yeah, that's expected. They did this work.
Yeah.
And no, they immediately, all right, you got it, bye. I mean, everyone was like that, not just those working in the airport, but even taxi drivers, and like they didn't stick around for payment or anything like that. And I was shocked, and it was more and more that way. And not just that, not just lending a helping hand, but people actually interested in us and actually wanting to know us and actually wanting to be our friends, and because they value relationships, because they're like, hey, we can all learn from each other. And that was the biggest thing that I've been hearing. Even recently, I went to learn about some agricultural things, and they were sharing with me, giving me things even, for free, and just saying, hey, we learn from each other, and that's what it's about. I got this for free from people, they taught me, and so now I want to teach you for free, and then you can teach me things as well, we can share, and this exchange of knowledge and everything. So anyways, that's just one example, but that's throughout, our lives, our neighbors, everyone. They're very open and very helpful everywhere we go, pretty much. Yeah.
So part of having a community is that you actually have, you have people around there, people who are available to help you take care of children, because everybody knows about children. There's lots of children everywhere.
Oh yeah, they love children.
Oh yes, love children. Even from the airport, they've always help us take care of these kids, and
learn their names immediately, start calling them by their first names.
It was so amazing, awesome. Yeah. It's like they already knew them. I'm like, oh my gosh. Anyways, having someone to even watch the kids, so we can go out and do what we need to do, or just have time together. It's been amazing. I mean, back in the U.S., we can put it, count how many times we actually had time together. Yeah. We had to pay a babysitter, and then they charge by the hour, and just let us say it's not cheap at all. So if you have children, that you it's not cheap.
We never had a night to ourselves until we came here. So that was 5 years.
Yeah.
Basically, once we had our first child.
Right.
And even dates were like once a year.
Yeah.
Maybe if a family member
on our anniversary or something.
Right. I mean, that was pretty much it. For 5 years.
Yes. So having people there to help, it's been tremendous. It's been awesome. So I love that. Oh yeah. Oof. It's amazing. Yeah. So reason number 2 is opportunities.
And that one might surprise a lot of people.
Yeah.
Maybe. But because a lot of people say that being in a young country like this, and by young what I mean is the majority of the population is like, I forgot what it is, under 18 or something. So it's very much a solid, pyramid structure, right? Where the older populations are smaller, the younger populations are bigger. So there's many children. So it's growing very, very fast. And when you have that sort of structure, people say, oh, well, there's not enough jobs and stuff. But no. When there are people, when there's population growth like that, in a healthy sort of way like that, the more people there are, right, the more ideas there are, the more development, the more, everything.
Yeah.
And this is also a different population from, say, Nigeria, which is growing fast.
Right.
But many people are leaving. Versus Uganda, people aren't leaving, right?
They're staying,
very invested in improving their country and really developing it. Not to say anything bad about Nigeria necessarily as a whole. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just trying to say that there's not a lot of people leaving, right? They want to stay. And so they're very invested. And so when you have that, you have many opportunities. For opportunities, it's huge. I mean...
Yeah, for example, it's in a developing country, it's easier to... if with a little capital, a little bit of time, it's easier to set up a business compared to a developed country like the US, where within a stats shows that 90% of the new businesses, small businesses, they fail in the first year of opening. I mean, you're competing with the big industries and companies. So,
hard to get started.
Yeah. So
especially in like agriculture. Oh my gosh, it's impossible. Yeah, in the U.S.
Yeah. So yeah, this place is full of opportunities. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, and we're not exaggerating. You know, with a little amount of capital. I mean, you really don't need a whole lot to get started. You know, you need to make connections. You need to.
Yes, because it's about the people too.
Exactly. And I think I forgot who I've spoken to. Spoken to many people, but there's a very important idea, which is, you know, if you invest in people, you can't fail.
Right.
You know, in that case, because people, as long as they're alive, right, they're going to support one another. And so you can never really fail in countries like this, in the sense that if you're working with all these people, if you're all invested together, you know, relationship-wise, working together, I mean, you just pivot. You know, you just pivot, you just change.
So when it comes to the opportunity, for example, when we arrived here and we were sharing with some people who put us in contact with people in public health, I told them, I have an MPH, Master's in Public Health, and they were like, oh my gosh, that's a big deal here. And I'm like, oh, I mean, I have the degree from the US. Even in the US, even if you have an MPH, unless you have a doctorate with it, you're a medical doctor or something, it's not really that big of a deal. But here, they're like, yeah, we always need an MPH. We need them in all those public health fields. You know, work with the government or work with all those NGOs or, you know, all these organizations. So I was like, really? I thought I just got a crappy degree, you know. I mean, I didn't think it was a crappy degree. But
well, people made you think it was a crappy degree because as soon as you graduated with that degree and you looked for jobs in the whole state, what did you find?
I looked for jobs, and the only availability was catching mosquitoes and testing it for samples of whatever. And I'm like,
at like minimum wage.
The minimum wage. Well, is it the minimum wage? Yeah, they're gonna pay about, you know. Yeah,
it was minimum wage.
And here I am. I'm like, I just came out of university with my master's, and I have all these bills to pay, you know, because it's a professional degree. It's a lot of money to get that degree. Yeah. And you want me to be getting minimum wage? Oh, catching mosquitoes. It's really, it's very sad, but it's so refreshing to know that at least my degree is worth something here, and people think it's actually a big deal, and I actually have so many opportunities to work with many organizations here, so I'm excited about that. Yeah,
so many possibilities here for employment in this case, as well as for business. And then another huge opportunity is the chance to be really debt free. And I mean, this is in many developing countries. It's this way that people they don't generally have debt because you either have money or you don't have money, but you don't have things that you can't afford, right? So you either have stuff or you don't have stuff. And so people, you know, that's just how it works. There's no real credit systems, and they're even surprised when they hear that people in Western countries live in debt, because they're like, wait, that's like a bad problem. Yeah. But yeah, so they're forced to do that, which is a good thing. You know, it's a good thing. Yeah. So you're able to do a lot more. And of course, your money goes further as well. And it also goes into kind of what normally is considered government because of taxes and things like that. So, like, for example, in Western countries, you get taxed on everything, right? And your dad even explained it to you when you first came.
Yeah, he sat us all down when we first arrived in the U.S. and America. He said, you are now in America. Everything here, there's nothing free in America. The air that you breathe, you pay for it. You pay for everything. There's nothing free. So just know that you always have bills to pay, you know. And you were saying that even if you go to your grave and you have bills to pay, there's always bills, you know.
Yeah. In Western countries, you do. You know, it's very, even if you're retired, you can't. You can't really get away from bills. You can't really get away from, you know, a lot of this stuff. Versus here, you know, there's not as much taxes. There are taxes, but there's not as much. And even in the taxes, you know, that do go, you know, they're not exactly what, you know, people expect. Like, oh, it's going to go to this street, that, whatever. And people expecting, oh, why haven't, this community, we need a playground. Why isn't there a playground? The government needs to do something. No,
Right.
no, people don't think that way. It's combined with the community. So it's like, okay, if we as a community need these things, let's pool together and
Right.
let's build this
Yeah.
park, or let's do this thing, that sort of stuff. So, I mean, people are able to build beautiful areas. I mean, this is a beautiful area as well, if we could show it. And I mean, there's parks, there's areas everywhere, but it's individuals, it's
Right.
communities, it's people that do these things, and that's how it used to be in Western countries back in the day, right?
Yeah, but because it was looking like even if we're both going to be working in order to pay the house bill, and then all of the bills that we're going to have, the car bills and all that, and also when it looks like we're going to be working until we retire, and then we will pass on the mortgage plus the bills of the house to the children. Imagine giving your children inheritance of the bills you have to pay of the,
Right.
it's just mind-blowing. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it just wasn't really. Yeah, in the U.S., it just wasn't really a way that we could do it. So yeah, like for us in the U.S., when COVID happened and everything, and the lockdowns, prices skyrocketed, and we're like, oh, well, we need another room for our children because we're expanding the family, and we're like, okay, well, maybe the cheapest thing if we want to stay here is build on an addition, right? Build on at least a bedroom, right? And we're trying to think of the simplest way of doing it: build on a bedroom. And so we, got some cash out on the house because the prices had increased a lot.
Right.
So it was like 50% of the original price of the house that we had, and we're like, oh great, we could definitely build a room. No, that couldn't even cut it.
By the time they came to do the measurement and take the quote and all that, they said this is expensive now, that is expensive now. So
it was terrible.
It was, so we couldn't even afford that. We were like, oh, okay, now what
do we do now?
Should we move? We started looking for other land. Let's look for maybe a place. Right. And where can we find a place, a nice piece of land that is not, it was not within.
Because really the ideal was that, I or both of us, we would get jobs in order to pay off everything, and get a piece of land, small couple of acres, whatever, that we could grow our own food on and become, basically subsisting on our own land.
Right.
So that way, whenever we paid everything off, we could essentially retire, spend time with the kids, and grow our own food and have, have a good time, basically, and that was the way we could do it. And that was the end goal, right, is to be able to have that sort of a thing, that we wouldn't have debt and we could grow on food and we'd be, set. And then we could do whatever we wanted after that. But when we looked at it, it was like we were going to be working for the rest of our lives.
Or
and on
we
top of
try
that,
to look for the land, to buy land.
Oh, the land was impossible.
It was impossible. It's like, it's either, it's right next to some really big Monsanto farm where they spray they're filled with chemical.
You die from cancer at age 35.
Right. Or you find in the middle of nowhere where it's off-grid, there's nobody there, it's just woods. No one has been there. So
like not good land to cultivate, things like that.
It's impossible.
And then climate-wise too, like we were going to try to find places where we could actually grow the food that we ate, because we were eating heavily tropical foods, and it's like this isn't sustainable. These come from the other side of the globe. Like this doesn't make any sense. How are we going to do this? But looking at southeastern United States, looking at it's Western United States, southwestern United States.
Yeah, so if it's not right by the border, we're trying to see if it's warmer here.
A lot of crime.
A lot of crime, or it's really the other option.
Or you're going to get destroyed by hurricanes.
Yeah.
It's like those are your options when you go to more tropical, warmer areas in the United States. It's like So started looking outside of the United States, and my first thought was going to what a colleague had told me about, who was from Tanzania. And he really told me, basically he's going to go into, agriculture. He's already been working on that since he was in college. And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah. I was like, but you're about to be a PhD in linguistics. Don't you, aren't you going to be a professor? He's like, yeah, but that'll be my side gig. He's like, what I will really, make the most money off of is agriculture. He's like, that's what you do. And Africa's the best place to do it. So that stuck with me. And even though I had talked to you about, going to West Africa before, even just for a year on a scholarship or a fellowship or something like that. You were like, no, every time. So I was kind of tentative talking to you about it, but I looked up, Tanzania, and I was like, this is a great place and everything, great culture, great people. We love a lot of Tanzanians, but and the climate's nice and everything, good agriculture. But it was just there were certain things for us personally that it wouldn't quite work out, not just language-wise, but also when it came to, being foreigners trying to, immigrate there. It was a bit more difficult. So I was like, let me keep looking, and came across Uganda right to the north, and I was like, and it just clicked. It was like everything started falling in place, and I was like, everything I researched was like, the climate's great. The culture seems amazing. Like the food, everything was just true.
Yeah,
and
wonderful.
And so I was like, okay, I've got a lot. So I brought it to you. I was like, okay, what do you think of this?
And I'm like, wait, what? Where is this place? I don't even know where it is on the map. I'm like, where is Uganda? Because I'm more into the West Africa, So you said when we started doing the research, and a lot of things start to come together, and we're hearing all these positive things. Security, they're good. Food-wise, they're good. Climate-wise, it's good. People, very friendly, hospitable. I'm like, it's looking really good. Looking good,
Yeah, I kept looking better and better every step of the way. Every time we're like, okay, what about this? We research it and be like, oh my gosh, this is perfect for us. It's not necessarily perfect for everyone, but it was perfect for us. And even like education-wise, there's a lot of opportunities. Even for me, if I wanted to teach again, I could. I could teach if that was what I was interested in. And I could do it in different ways, and the same for our children, for education-wise. Education's not nearly as expensive here as it would be, in other areas of the world. And for us in particular, because our children, grew up bilingual, Spanish and YORՈBÁ speakers, and they're actually learning a lot of English here. That is something it's difficult to find, right? You can't find a school that teaches those three languages and all that. So obviously we're going to be doing, some form of homeschooling, at least during their formative years. And so when it comes to, going out there and studying, more, there's a lot of opportunities. There's universities everywhere. And people are always like, oh, well, the best universities are in the West. I'm like, I've taught in universities in the West, and people are people everywhere. Right? Yeah, but it depends on what they want to do, right?
That's true.
So, if they just want to get, a degree in, English or a degree in whatever, they can easily do that here. And if they want to improve on those things, whatever it is, engineering, whatever, then they have opportunities to study in other places if they want. But it's their choice, and it's what they want to do. And if they don't want to study, if they want to go into something else, then they can do that. If they want to go into business, if they want to do whatever, But it's their choices.
There's so many opportunities for them,
Exactly. And we're interconnected, and every country, in Uganda in particular, they have a long history of education. And they're very focused on education. So there's a lot of opportunities here. No matter what people might say, there's a lot of opportunities. It's just what you make of them.
The third reason is the climate. The beautiful climate. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Nice.
It's just amazing. So we came from the Midwestern America, where we only have 4 months of growing seasons, and other time it's either so hot things die, or it's so cold everything dies either. So we just have to hibernate and wear coats and even coats and layers, and it still didn't cut it. It felt like I'd go out, it felt like it was put in a deep freezer. I'm like, who did I offend in this world where they will put me in deep freezer? It just, every time I go out, it feels like I've done something wrong to deserve this. Anyways, it always gets me. Oh my gosh, I don't know how people survive in those places. It was killing me. It was definitely, and a lot of people too. I know they suffer a lot of depression in the winter months, because this sun that you see is the human. It's a human source of life, basically, because you need it for that vitamin D. You need it for it's your happy. It gives you the happy vitamin. So you
need it for things to grow.
For things to grow, it's amazing, the power of the sun. But if you don't have it, you see a lot of people in the winter, they always suffer depression.
And in Western countries, even in the summertime, it's getting more that way. Because, if it's too cold, people hibernate in their houses. If it's too hot, people hibernate in their houses with their AC blasting, right? And so there's that, what is that song? Summertime Sadness. I know it's pretty old now, but there's that concept. So even during the summer, people have depression, in Western countries. Because again, you got really hot, really cold. You got all these.
And speaking of the climate, you know how much inefficient you have to be
Yes.
to do heating and cooling, and how much that costs. Oh my gosh, our bills went into heating and cooling. I mean, we can try to, to let me take away the cooling in the summertime and just use your fan and stuff. But
Right.
in the wintertime, you have to have, you need at least some heating so that your pipes don't freeze and burst and you have water everywhere in your house.
Inefficiency.
That
Yeah.
of cooling and heating, how much
Right.
it affects the climate and all that. Oh, it's crazy.
I mean, if you read any study on sustainability in the world and, energy usage and stuff, Western countries are the worst. And not necessarily just because they use electricity for everything, but also because, like, the main chunk is heating, right?
Oh my
That's
gosh,
the biggest deal. And because humans are no longer that nomadic, right? People don't go south for the winter, right? Like they used to do back in the day. Even Native Americans, right? If they saw that there was a heavy duty, winter coming on, they would go to warmer climates, and that's how they did it to survive. And but we're just not set up to do that. And Western countries are not set up to do that anymore. So yeah, if you want to focus on like sustainability and stuff, it's difficult to do when you got winters. Very difficult to do.
Yeah.
Unless you're able to learn how to do things such as cultures like the Inuits and things. But most people aren't prepared to do that.
Those are extreme. Yeah.
It's very extreme, right, to be able to do that, and not a lot of people can do that. So anyway, so if you want to look at sustainability and being able to do things, I mean, there's so many opportunities here. I mean, we're combining opportunities and climate here because they do go together. There's so many opportunities.
And to come with the climate, and because everyone, they have this mindset that you grow your food, you provide for your, fill your belly, and then you can take care of business. If your belly is full. Because one thing I know is that a hungry man is an angry man. If you're hungry, you're always angry because there's no food in your belly. And this is what I've noticed in the places where maybe the food is scarce and people don't have the mentality of you farm your land. The people are more into, we have to be doctors, lawyers, and engineers and do all these big businesses. Now, who's going to make your food? Who's going to prepare your food? If they don't have that mindset, and then they say food is scarce, and then there's a cycle of going anger, and then food scarce, and then the cycle keeps going on. If there's a lot of that, there's a lot of unrest, a lot of insecurity, going on there, because everyone wants to get some money to just blow up and be big, But if your belly is filled, you're not, nothing will face you. You're at peace. Right?
And you can think clearly to do more things if you want, or not do anything else if you don't want, which some people, do here as well.
Yeah. So, and also in that place, people are more, and the community is at rest. It's secure because you don't see people running around trying to kill you to get money so they can go get. Everyone is very secure. They know their belly is full. What did I say here?
There was a gentleman here who told me, he put it very well. He said basically, in this country you can die broke, but with a full belly.
That's awesome.
Because he's like, look, I mean, you can just pick stuff off the trees right here. Like, you're not going to be hungry.
We see everywhere. There's in front of people's houses, there are people growing stuff. They're growing their foods. They're growing everywhere you go. You see people growing in the middle of the.
There's excess. There's excess. I mean, we heard heartbreaking stories of villages where they've got all these guava trees and all these mango trees and stuff. I mean, this produce is super expensive in the West.
Yeah.
And it just falls and just rots because it's just overabundance. They're like, we can't eat all this.
Right.
And we don't want to go through the trouble of shipment and stuff. Heck, we don't even have anything to ship it with. So it's okay.
If the climate is so
cry.
amazing and the fertile soil is there, it's just so amazing. Yeah.
Right.
Anyways, the climate brings everything together.
So kind of back to the sustainability thing. So you could technically do a house in the middle of nowhere, and you can grow your own food here. And not just that, but you can have your own electricity, right, using solar, for example, which is very useful because you have sun almost every single day of the year, right? And then you can also have your own gas if you use biogas. So that means, any waste you have, goes into the digester and produces gas. So you can have biogas, which is only possible in a lot of northern Western countries,
right?
During certain seasons. right? So you're not able to be fully sustainable throughout the year, for example, things like that. Oh, and of course, you know, you get your own water, right, from a well.
Yeah, from the well.
Obviously, but yeah, you could be fully sustainable, you know, in a place with a climate like this.
But yeah, those are our reasons. Our reasons are understandable to us. We understand it and it works for us. So
exactly,
not
this
everybody
isn't saying
can do
everyone
it.
needs to do this.
Right, not everyone
this
can do it.
This is just saying that if you want to know why we did, this is why we did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's all we have for this video. We will answer more questions. If you have questions, please, you can put it in the comment section. But yeah, well, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel, Familia Pablanu, and follow our adventure, like our skits. Yeah, we're here in the Pearl of Africa, and until next time, we will say, Mwekale, Odabo.
Hasta luego.
Bye. Odabo.
Ciao.